Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bridging Impact Podcast, the podcast that is passing wisdom to the next generation of athletes, coaches, and parents to transform leaders on and off the court. So, in today's episode, it is an episode of Coach's Corner where I, Coach Furtado, share what I'm learning as a coach, what I'm learning as a young leader, what questions I'm hearing from parents and athletes, but also, more importantly, what I'm noticing. So I think one of the most important skills in life is the ability to navigate and handle failure. And I think one of the things that this generation has the most challenge with is handling failure. Now, I'm not going to sit here and put the blame entirely on them because we have created a society that really values highlights. And I'll be honest, right? Like I'm not going to post the worst part of this podcast, my mistakes, on right Instagram because the algorithm is not going to reward that. The algorithm is going to reward my cross slam dunk, right, instead of my missteps. And so that's one of the challenges. We're just fighting society. But I also, one of the things that I see that is within our control is letting kids fail and letting kids learn from failure. So I'll give a quick example. This week I had a player. This week he came to camp, and one of the things, he was late. Second thing was he didn't bring his shoes, right? And so his mom brought him his shoes. Thank you, Mom, right, for bringing him his shoes. And I was like, you better be grateful, because one of the things that I really want to encourage, especially for those that are parents and even coaches, right? If you don't come prepared to practice, you don't practice, right? You don't have your shoes, you don't practice. And I think it's one of the best things, right? If we can create an environment where there's accountability and discipline for what happens when we let our team down. We let our team down when we show up late. We let our team down when we don't come with everything that is required to be prepared for practice, aka, athletic shorts, aka, shoes. And so making sure that we have everything that's prepares us for success, at least to start being successful. So when we fail to do that, we fail our team. So they need to learn that. They need to learn the pain of failure. And so learning the pain of failure also happens through losing, through missing shots and striking out, whatever your sport is. With failure, it's really hard to accept it, right? It's really hard. I don't want to be deemed a failure. No person does. I don't want to do that. My parents don't want that, right? That's all what we're running from. A lot of times we run from, we seek validation, right? Well, what happens when we lose, right? What happens when we're on a losing team, right? Let's say, our athlete's 10 years old. They're on a team and they have not been doing as well. Well, let's see. Number one, are they getting good coaching instruction? If the answer is yes, right? If you feel like the coach in the organization is a good place to be, but they're losing, oh no. Are they getting as much playtime as they want? Oh no, no, they're not. So the two things that I'm seeing the most, right, are if they're not getting a ton of playing time and or they are on a losing team, parents are like, all right, pull this kid out, let's jump. Even if it's great coaching. Even if it's great coaching. They want their kid to be on a winning team. Why? What lesson is that teaching them? What lesson is it teaching them? Now, if the season ends and you want to reevaluate, they have friends on a different team, you find a program that may be a better fit after the season, fine, right? Fine. Just know that development takes time. But in season, mid season, I see kids playing for 3 different club teams on a spring and a summer. There's no continuity. There's no continuity at all. And honestly, a lot of these club basketball teams are guilty of it as well. They just pick someone up. Hey, come play. Come play. You don't have to practice or nothing, right? Come play. Right? And what is that teaching us? I'm not going to be committed to the team. I'm not going to be a team player if I haven't practiced with the team, if I haven't failed with the team before, because I actually think teams that go through failure end up becoming the best teams. Let's look at the Denver Nuggets as an example, right? Michael Malone, the head coach of the Denver Nuggets, surprisingly was there because Stan Kroenke is a great owner. He's patient. They'd failed many times, right? A lot of times people did not believe the Nuggets could get over the hump, right? That was one of their things. They're great in the regular season, but come playoff time, they're not a real threat, right? We've heard that before. But what happened? They won the championship, right? They were by far the best team in the playoffs in both leagues, right? Not even close, right? Eastern Conference, Western Conference, don't matter, right? They were better. they went through a lot of adversity. They went through failure. Jamal Murray was out for a year with the ACL tear. They've lost, and they were up 3-1. 3-1 series lead. They blew it, right? So with that, they could have, no, screw this, blow up the team. Let's get new people here and there. And, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm an expert in terms of building an NBA team, a WNBA team, an MLB team. But what I do know is that failure is an important life lesson that our kids need to know, right? Our athletes need to know. And we need to stop letting and protecting our kids from failure. We need to encourage them to fail, encourage them to go at a speed when they're training that they fail, right? Because there's only one thing that is guaranteed in life if you are going to stretch yourself and grow: failure. I have failed so many times. I've started, kind of a couple of different companies and brands, a podcast before that I ended up not sticking out with, because of a multitude of reasons, right? I've failed before as a business owner. I've failed before as a coach. I've tried certain drills that I saw online. I'm like, this is not working. This is not it. But now I've come to create I don't want to say a formula, a structure of a basketball camp that is very, very successful. And it was week 2. I had another great coach come in and help me, right? But I learned through failure. I learned through what not to do, right? I've worked at a couple other basketball organizations that, were missed some details, right? And so I was like, let's dial in these details. So how can we learn from failure? And a lot of times, sometimes maybe it's other people's failure that we're learning from. But the ability and the resilience to come back from failure is a superpower that will take your athlete way further than sports, right? Way further. Did they get rejected from their dream school? Okay, so what, right? What are you going to do about it? Cry about it, right? You can cry about it for a day, then figure it out, right? Disappointment happens. Do not protect your kids from disappointment. It's an important part of life. So if you got something out of this, if you agree with this message, right, let's share it with a friend. Let's pass it along. Let's encourage our athletes to fail. That is number one. Hey, you like this? Give us a rating on Spotify. Review us on Apple Podcasts. And hey, make sure you tune in next week for our Wednesday Inspiring Conversations and Friday Coach's Corner. Coach Furtado out.